What's going on, everybody? Cigar Titan here once again for another episode of Smoke Signals and Side Quests. This is episode 0.9, and this will be the final episode we are going to be shooting over here on the Cigar Titans YouTube channel. So just to get this out of the way at the start of the show, don't forget to like and subscribe over at our new home on YouTube called Smoke Signals and Side Quests. All future episodes will go live exclusively on the Smoke Signals and Side Quests YouTube channel. We will no longer be posting any lives to the Cigar Titans YouTube channel. So if you want to see more of this guy, Sergeant Grumpy Pants and Red Beer Riot, don't forget to go over to YouTube, Smoke Signals and Side Quests. Give us a like and subscribe over there. Now, it's been a seriously busy week, and we've got a lot of topics to get into today, and we're excited to spend some time with you on this beautiful Saturday afternoon / evening. And so I'd like to go ahead and bring one of my first co-hosts to the stage when he's not out planning his next January 6th protest / riot. He's chilling here with us. It's Red Beer Riot. How are you, sir?
What's going on, everybody? Bringing you the hardest Cigar Titan impression that I possibly can. You found the best new podcast on the YouTube's channels.
That's pretty good. That's
hey, man. What's going on? What is going on?
How are you? How was your week?
We're having a good time, man. It's been busy. Oh, whew. I'm ashamed to say that, too much. I'm ashamed to say that after like 57 years of driving around without an accident, I did minor fender bender. I think it's maybe just a result of, you get older. You see the old guys, they step on the gas instead of stepping on the brake.
Mm-hmm.
Probably a little bit of that. I'm aging into my driving habits. So that's not great, but fender bender, mostly superficial damage. We're gonna get it fixed. No big deal. Got a lot of family in town. They have been coming in to help out a little bit. My mom had some relatively routine surgery that she had to get taken care of, but we got people coming into town to help her out while she's recovering, cooking dinners, cleaning up, just doing that kind of stuff. So we've been having a little bit of time hanging out with some family and just having a good time. We took the dogs and went over and met up with the family at this great little park, maybe about 20 minutes from here. A little creek running through the park, all kinds of hiking trails through there. It was good stuff. It was good stuff. But nice. We're here and we're ready to party.
Nice. Now I'm hoping that you and whoever you got into the minor fender bender with are okay.
I mean, I may develop some lower back issues later on down the road and, go try to get unemployment or some nonsense. But no, it was literally just the smallest kiss. I stopped about an inch short of what I would have needed to do to not crash.
So you're saying it was just the tip?
Yes, just a little.
I may know something about just the tip.
She barely felt it.
All right. Well, next onto the stage, he started off on President Cigars, but then he moved over to the Arturo Fuentes. If it's not a Fuente, he doesn't want it. Yeah.
What?
You know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Sergeant Grumpy Pants, how are you, sir?
I'm doing quite well, actually. I like the little fumble there with he's on the Fuente stuff. Good cigars. Good. Really good stuff.
Trying to think of something last minute to bring you in. I was like, this is the best I got this week.
The preparation is next level.
Yes.
Don't worry about it. I'm pretty inconsequential. You're fine.
Don't say that. Come on. How was your week?
Not too bad, actually. Today was pretty low key considering the fact that I was just trying to have like a yard sale. I was trying to clear out a bunch of stuff that's just been sitting in my garage collecting dust. I haven't touched it for over a year. And I'm like, you know what? It's eating up very limited and valuable real estate in the garage. So I can go ahead and do without this stuff. So got up early, put it all out, and the daughters, surprisingly, wanted to get out of the house and kind of hang out with their old man, which was really kind of nice and refreshing. And I was like, but we're not in front of blue screen technology, and you want to be outside nature and fresh air is. And they were like, yeah. So they came out, and they actually, I mean, my youngest didn't last as long as my oldest did. But even then, we were engaging on a level that I haven't done for a great many years. And we bust out the sidewalk chalk, and we got to some fun artsy fartsy stuff all over the driveway and the sidewalk. And it was just a nice time. It was a good reflection back to their younger years. And it's beautiful because literally have these very rare moments where they're going to be moving on, and I will be nothing but a distant memory to them. I'm imparting some really good fatherly stuff on them for their lives ahead. So, but other than that, it was pretty chill. I've been working on my backdrop. This is not the permanent one. This is just something that I have up here now.
What do you have back there?
Go ahead and take a gander at that. It's the Great Cornholio. Are you threatening me? It's literally the "Don't Tread on Me." I think it's called the Gadsden flag. If I'm not mistaken, a Gadsden flag. And the upper half is literally Beavis in his alter ego Cornholio holding up his firearm collection, shouting, "Are you threatening me?" So
now, for those who don't know, what is a Gadsden flag?
Oh, so that was back a revolutionary time where they're literally like, "Don't tread on me." That was the snake coiled up, ready to strike and be an imposing threat if you wind up coming close to it. And that was kind of their signature staple during the Revolutionary War. It actually has a very, very deep meaning to it, but I won't get into all that as it will eat up a lot of time. But
maybe we save it for a segment for a future episode.
Possibly 4th of July. It's coming up. And,
Ooh,
the Revolutionary War is when this country was founded by a bunch of aristocratic white slave owners who just didn't want to pay their taxes, from my understanding, which is awesome because anybody who says this person's a felon, they can't be president. Well, I don't know. I mean, this country was founded by people who are otherwise, if we lost, would have been hung, drawn, and quartered for treason. So they were already, felons there in their own right. So America's a country of rebels. I love it.
Well, Terry Davey says, I'm not sure why I'm here. You're here because you're hanging out with the best podcast out there on the YouTubes right now, Smoke Signals and Side Quests. And we got your bra bestie in there as well.
And we are glad to have you, Terry Davey.
Very much so. And how was your week, Cigar Titan?
It was good. I took some time off of work this week. Funny story. I just left my work phone out and about. I think I left it.
That's a great one. Yeah,
left it on the table or something in the living room, and I happened to walk away from it, and so did not realize that my 10-month-old daughter at some point propped her little self up onto the table, grabbed my cell phone, and somehow from a locked screen managed to factory reset my entire phone. I didn't even know that was possible from a locked screen. And so for the last week or so, I've been completely locked out of my work phone and have not been able to get back in. So when I get back to work on Tuesday next week, I'm hoping somebody from our IT department will reach out to me and help me get that whole situation sorted out, because I feel naked without it. It's just I've been traveling around with 2 work phones for the better part of close to 20 years now. So I'm just used to having like 2 cell phones on me at all times. I look like some weird drug dealer that's got his burner phone on him and his real phone on him. But I've only been carrying my personal phone with me this week. So it's felt a little weird. Didn't realize that you could do all that. But for those of you out there who are wondering, I guess apparently it is possible. So you may want to be careful where you leave your phone within reach of small children. So that was the bulk of my week. We're going to take some time this week and maybe head down to San Diego and do a little family time out there. We've got a birthday we're going to be celebrating as well. So we're super excited about that.
Right on.
It is actually my stepson's birthday. He turns 9 years old today, actually. So we did a whole SpongeBob SquarePants theme for him in the house and got him some decorations, and we got him a cake with SpongeBob and Patrick on it, and then got him some gifts and everything. And then this weekend, we're going to go and take a trip down to San Diego, spend some time at a pool, and then maybe take the kids over to an aquarium or something while we're down there. So super happy about that.
Nice. Public pool, I'm assuming.
Yeah. I don't think we've got a private pool down there, at least not that I know of. So
wow, might as well just pee directly on you.
Well, I'm not going into the pool. This skin does not fare very well out in the sun, regardless of whether I'm wearing sunblock or not. So
what? You're looking golden gram tan right now. What are you talking about? Or is that just all
I
lighting?
got the lights off and everything. Right.
It's a little dark.
Yep.
Don't believe what you see on TV.
Yep. But no, we got a cabana down there, so I'll be spending my time underneath the shade. So nice. I do not return looking like a lobster. But,
covered up head to toe, long sleeve shirt, hat,
yes, exactly,
scarf, the whole thing.
Exactly. But yes, let's get on with the show here. We got a lot of great topics we want to get to today. But first, and I have a feeling, Redbeard, that this is going to be a part of our episodes going forward, because we continue to upset people with the content we're putting out there. And so we've got a list of apologies that we would like to go through. Again, we didn't get to do this last week, so we may be doubling up on some apologies this week. And I am absolutely certain we're going to be doing this next week after some of the topics we talk about here today. But Redbeard, the floor is yours, sir.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, first of all, before I get going, it's probably wise to put out the public service announcement that apparently babies are coming from the factory now with pre-installed Skynet. They will jack up your phone. Just pay attention to that. Here we go. We would like to formally, officially, retroactively apologize to the following people who may have, potentially been offended. Those people include, but are not limited to, let's see here, Genghis Khan, Disney adults, UPS store employees, Babe Ruth, Bonnie Blue's unborn child, Jared Bush, Down syndrome babies, Sammy Sosa, He-Man, Skeletor, gay antelopes on the down low, Mufasa, Michael Phelps, anyone who worked on Brokeback Mountain, Shopping Friends, the Tiger Sharks, Neil Patrick Harris, Elio, Barry Bonds, Hypervigilant Parents, Luke Evans, unofficial Disney something or another's. Someone's got terrible handwriting. Uncle Walt rolling in his grave, John Wayne, Harry Potter, Julie Newmar, Gay Dumbledore, Mark McGuire, Garbage Pail Kids, Tom Selleck, Woke HR Managers, Mercedes-Benz, Thundercats, Enhanced Athletes, Sweet Transvestites, Rolls-Royce, Lance Armstrong, Baby Yoda, 11, and let's see, Space Cows, Traumatized by Jedi SA. And that concludes the list of apologies.
I counted 40. Is that correct?
Oh, I don't know. There wasn't a number. I didn't number them.
Yeah, that's a lot. I am, like I said, I'm certain next week we're going to have a list of apologies we're going to have to read off after this week's episode for sure. So
words are hard.
Words are hard. Words are hard. That is true. Again, just a reminder for everybody out there, if this is your first time catching an episode of Smoke Signals and Side Quest, don't forget to go over to our new YouTube channel, Smoke Signals and Side Quest, and like and subscribe over there. This will be the last and final episode of Smoke Signals and Side Quest we're going to be posting on the Cigar Titans YouTube channel. So for all future episodes, make sure you go over to YouTube/Smoke Signals and Side Quest, like and subscribe. All right, gentlemen. Hey, so our next topic on the list for today is we're going to circle back and we're going to talk about He-Man again. Now, there's been some news since you guys went and saw He-Man last week. So just to give everybody an update, I had the opportunity to catch He-Man yesterday at the movie theater, and overall I gotta say this is my final verdict on the movie. I liked it. I liked the movie.
Sure.
I thought it was good.
Yeah, it was
Go
fun to
ahead.
watch. Yeah, sorry.
No, not at all. Yeah, ton of fun to watch. I loved the references. So if you don't want any spoilers and you haven't seen the movie He-Man Masters of the Universe, I would skip ahead for the next 15 to 20 seconds because I'm going to do a spoiler right now. The Dolph Lundgren cameo was super awesome. And even the little comment he made where I forget, like, whatever he
Safe
said.
travels or
Safe travel. Yeah, something
safe journey,
like that.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, Safe Journeys. I think that was what it was. And I happened to watch the old He-Man Masters of the Universe from the 80s before I went and saw it. So I appreciated that reference. But I thought it was pretty cool. Overall, I thought the movie was great. I actually liked it more than I liked Mortal Kombat. And I will tell you why. Because I thought the movie stuck to the source material way more accurately than Mortal Kombat 2 did.
Valid.
I thought that the movie, like, even when I was talking to my fiance after, she's like, well, I don't know, like, what did you think about him being such a wuss throughout the whole movie or like throughout the majority of the movie? I'm like, that's how he was when he was Adam. He was a scared little wuss when he was Adam. And then he turns into a big muscular badass when he becomes He-Man. But when he's Prince Adam, he's kind of this insecure, lacks confidence type of dweeb that, is scared of everything. His cat Cringer was scared of everything. But look, all in all, I thought Jared Leto did an awesome job as Skeletor. I thought the jokes landed for the most part. Redbeard, I did happen to see or hear the jokes that you were referencing last week when you were talking about that. And I can see where some parents may have some concerns about that. I do think that they're very sophisticated adult jokes. And so unless you've been exposed to that kind of vernacular previously, you're probably not going to catch those references. And even if you do, it's a quick, simple, well, it's because he's got a giant hand. That's why he fists people type of thing. But all in all, I didn't think that the CGI or anything got in the way of the movie. I thought that the cast of the movie did a really great job. But I was sad to see, and this kind of brings us back to the topic for this week. I was sad to see that the movie apparently bombed at the box office. And so it only made in its first weekend, I want to say $33 million domestically and around 55 million globally, which is not a lot of money, especially with what they had for a budget for this movie. And so I was a little disappointed that this didn't do better, because I don't know if you caught this. I don't know if you guys stayed after to watch the credits, but there was an end credit scene where they certainly teased a follow-up movie. Did you gentlemen both catch that?
Absolutely.
I didn't see it, but I am aware of it.
Okay. So, I'm not going to spoil that here. If you want to know more about that, go see the movie. You can look it up online later, but there definitely was an end credits scene there that teased a sequel to this movie. And I'm hoping that it comes to fruition, because I would be super excited to see that. But gentlemen, what are your thoughts? Why do you think He-Man Masters of the Universe bombed at the box office? I'll start with you, Sergeant Grumpy Pants.
I like to always quote Big Daddy on this with the little kid. And he just says, because most critics are cynical assholes. Kind of chalk it up with that as much as I can anyways.
Sure.
But I mean, again, I had this discussion with my oldest, who we went and saw the movie, and she loved it, right? Has zero reference to this. This is not nostalgic for her at all. This is decades before she was conceived. And I told her that it bombed, and she was like, what? Why? Your guess is as good as mine, kid. I honestly don't know. I enjoyed it just for the simple fact that the entertainment value of it alone was nostalgic. And yes, there were some possibly racy, dicey, suggestive lines in there, commentary of the things that were said. But you got to look at the target audience. I mean, we're in our 40s. This show came out when we were like turning 5 or 4 or 5, something like that.
Yeah.
We grew up with this. So the fact that it can do that, I mean, it's not, granted, they're looking at kids going, oh, well, kids are going to see this, but it's so like very, very minuscule that level, I can't honestly tell you why it bombed at the box office. To be honest, I enjoyed it. So that's why I go with the whole critics are cynical assholes. That's my best explanation that I have for this.
Mr. Riot, what are your thoughts? Why do you think this bombed at the box office?
Well, I do have one or two theories which are actually unrelated to anything that I had to be critical about the movie from last week. Because I generally tend to agree with you in the sense that it was fun. There was a ton of nostalgia. They really, really put a lot into getting the look just right. And we can argue a little bit about some of the substance or whatever, but overall, fun movie. I think one thing potentially could be that from the get-go, there may have been just a limited core audience, right? So we hear the He-Man was our jam when we were 5 years old, 6 years old, you know. But there's maybe a little bit of a limited window in the sense of maybe those who are 10 or 15 years younger than us or in the opposite direction are looking at this going, okay, I don't really know what that is. You know what I mean?
Hard to bridge that generational gap.
You know, where you've got something like a Marvel movie and Marvel comics or just comics in general have been sort of a staple for generation and generation and generation, those older than us, those younger than us. So maybe I think there may have been a little bit of a limited audience in that sense. I think the other thing really, and maybe is a little bit more relevant is, and you know, we can argue about this. You guys can comment about this. We have for the last 10 or 15 years seen just movie after movie after movie that has come out and basically slapped you in the face and said, that thing that you used to like, we're going to rip it all apart and call it and basically turn it into trash, right? I got no volume on you, Cigar Titans.
I said Mortal Kombat 2. We're looking at you. I was muted there for a moment.
Sure. But you know, listen, we've seen a lot of movies where the intent, I think, has been to, you know, sort of soft reboot whatever franchise it is that they've been pulling off of and just drive it into the ground. And we've seen many of these movies just fail. And I would say that that's probably one of the biggest reasons why Top Gun Maverick did as well as it did, right? It came out, it was true to the source material. It was, you know, just a fun movie, and it didn't tell the audience that they were assholes, right? It didn't drive your childhood into the ground and rip that thing all apart. And right. I think a lot of people are just wary. A lot of people look at a movie like He-Man and the Masters of the Universe and they go, "Oh, are they going to do that with this? I don't want to have that part of my childhood ripped apart." They already ripped up Star Wars. They already ripped up Indiana Jones. They already ripped up. Just the list goes on and on and on. And so a lot of people, I think, are just like, "Nah, you know what? If it turns out that, you know, if it gets good word of mouth, maybe I'll go see it. But I'm not going to go and put myself out there anymore and have, you know, even the studios in a lot of these cases are like, ooh, the toxic fandom." I'm like, bro, I'm just trying to watch a movie. And you're telling me that I'm, you know, that I'm the problem. Right. You made a movie that isn't good. And I know there's been people online calling this movie woke and not terribly so, but I bet you there's probably a lot of people who are like, oh, well, then I'm not even going to bother.
Yeah, I think that's a valid argument. Scott the Robot makes an interesting point and says it's an Amazon movie, so people are fine waiting for it to come out on streaming. And that very well may be the case. Now, to add a little color to this, when I went and saw the movie yesterday, it was, I think, and we saw it in a normal movie theater, right? Without 4DX or IMAX, which is not truly real IMAX. That may be a future discussion, but so we just saw it in a normal movie theater where they also have like the projectors on opposite sides of the wall. So there were certain scenes of the movie where you had the screen in front of you and then the side projectors would turn on and it would feel like you're actually immersed in whatever scene it is, which was pretty cool. But those tickets cost $25 a pop to go and see it. Now, we got some popcorn. I think we got a large Pepsi and a bag of Reese's Pieces, and that cost me over $30 for those three items: popcorn, a drink, and Reese's Pieces. $30. So we're talking close to $100 almost here for two people to go see a movie. Now, when this inevitably drops on Amazon Prime Video, because it will, you can go and rent the movie from anywhere to $19 to $25 and watch it in the comfort of your own home, or you can buy the movie outright and it'll probably be a similar price when it drops. But yeah, I can see there, being an argument made that maybe we just wait for it to come out on streaming services. But I also think that I didn't get a lot of the woke stuff from the show. I mean, yeah, they did some interesting casting choices with Man-at-Arms. I know you gentlemen talked about it last week with Idris Elba, and I thought he did a phenomenal job with the role. Had no problem with that whatsoever. Again, wasn't necessarily married to the fact that Man-at-Arms was originally drawn up as a white character. And maybe there's an argument there, but I didn't really care. Because it wasn't necessarily the main character of the movie. Now, if the main character of the movie, He-Man, was a 5 foot, 110 pound woman, who is cosplaying as a guy, then yeah, I'd probably have an issue with that. But they didn't do that here, and I didn't think it was much of a problem. But
they, them.
Right.
Sorry.
No, completely valid. But all things considered, I thought it was a good movie. I just, look, here's the thing, for folks who are our age, guys and gals that are our age that are complaining there isn't a lot of good movies to be seen. I can understand your skepticism in wanting to take a chance on any movie these days, because you never know what Hollywood is going to try and jam down your throat once they've got your ticket and you're sitting in those seats. And so I think a healthy amount of skepticism is to be expected, whenever we go out and we spend money on movies. But this was very much a movie that was directed towards our generation. We were 100% the target audience for this movie. There was enough in there, I think, to bring in new viewers and new fans to the franchise. But a lot of the references and a lot of the characters I can see may have also been a bit off-putting to people who are not familiar with He-Man. When you have characters named Ram Man and Fisto and He-Man, like, look, let's just be honest, guys. Like, those are some pretty corny names, we
got some goofball action going on.
It's a lot of goofball action in it, but what I liked about the movie is they acknowledged that and they didn't take themselves seriously, and they actually had some fun with it at their own expense and called it out, and made light of it, which is, I think, the best way to do it. And even at the end, like, nobody refers to the character He-Man as He-Man throughout the entire movie up until the end of the movie, when they ask him, hey, when you were drawing all these characters, what was the name you had for yourself? And he jokingly, he's like, I don't want to say. No, come on. We'll use it. I promise. He-Man. Oh, He-Man. Okay. Yeah. He-Man. I can see that. So again, I think, look, go out there, see the movie. It's worth a watch for sure. It's unfortunate that it bombed at the box office, but that does not mean that the chapter is closed on this franchise either. if it does well with streaming services, maybe the next movie won't come out in movie theaters. Maybe they'll go directly to streaming services. And I'd be okay with that. I'd still check it out.
I agree with Scott the Robot says, and what you piggybacked off of there is Amazon movie. It's going to be released for streaming. And maybe, just maybe, COVID had a long lasting, deeper psyche effect on us where we're just like, well, we can't go out. Everything was streamed to us 24/7 for entertainment value because we had to shelter in place. Maybe that's just where everybody's mindset is now. It's like, why spend this exorbitant amount of money on tickets and concessions and then possibly have your theater night ruined by people talking, messing around on their phones, throwing stuff? You're not in the comfort of your own home, or, worst case scenario, as it has happened in the past, active shooter situations coming in and completely ruining everybody's lives, and putting them off of ever wanting to go crowded, dark theater events ever again. Maybe just maybe that's a possibility as well. So maybe they can start taking into account box office sales to add that when streaming happens to kind of alter that number, so to speak, if you will.
Yeah,
you're also going to run into just general type of movie release kind of things where sometimes a movie didn't release at the right time, and sometimes it's just all about timing, right? And you've seen movies like that where they maybe didn't have an initial strong start,
right,
but on the back end they pick up and they gain notoriety and people end up liking this movie, which ultimately didn't initially do well in theaters.
Right, of course.
Well, and there was a question there, I think, after COVID, where for a while we were wondering if movie theaters were going to continue to be a thing as well, right? I mean,
yeah,
a lot of these movie theaters did not make it through COVID and shut down, and a lot of the companies that were running some of these movie theaters ended up going, defunct and got out of that business, which was unfortunate. But I'm starting to see a resurgence in the number of people that are going to movies. But again, maybe it was just the wrong time. I'm sure there's a bunch of different factors that played into it. But I think if it's the right movie, and you even mentioned Top Gun Maverick, that movie was originally slated to come out. It was either 2020 or 2021. And they delayed the release of that by 2 or 3 years because they acknowledge, like, this is not the right time to bring out a movie right now. And if we do, this thing's going to flop hard. And not because the movie isn't good, but because people are being locked into their homes and aren't allowed to go out. And nobody wants to sit there for 3 hours wearing a mask while you're watching a movie.
Sitting next to a stranger.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think movie theaters were considered essential businesses either. So a lot of these movie theaters were forced to close, at least out here in my area. So unfortunate, but it is what it is. All things considered, great movie. Go and check it out. Gentlemen, are you ready to move on to our next segment we like to call Retro Hail Riffraff?
Oh my.
Let's do it.
So ready.
All right, we are Retro Hail Riffraff. Don't forget, like and subscribe. Redbeard Riot, what do you have for us this week, sir?
Well, we are gonna be we're gonna do some movies, which is maybe appropriate for the topic. We've got a movie game.
All right,
love movie game.
Gonna set this up here just as soon as this. Oh boy.
Absolutely one of my favorite segments because it gives me thinking. It gets the old brain working.
There we go.
I feel like this is my time to shine.
Oh, here we go.
So for those of you who are new to the Smoke Signals and Side Quest, we like to do these games where we will get a list of questions and then we have to guess the movie based off of the questions that are being asked. Is there a theme to this week's game, Redbeard?
We indeed do have a theme. And Let's see if we can't see what we got. We got Guess That Movie. We got reboots and sequels this week, boys.
Hey, all right.
Are you ready for this?
I'm so ready.
All right. What you're going to do is you're going to get a line from a movie, and they will get progressively easier, but you are the boss if you guess it on the harder ones. Let's check it out.
I have my clicker in hand. I'm ready to go.
Here we go. All right. Let's see what we got. The day drinking. That's what I like the most. What do you think?
I feel like I've heard this quote before, but I don't know the movie yet.
Not immediately drawing a thing. Let's see what we got. You guys are like lady spies.
Again, drawing a blank. Still, I got nothing.
You got nothing for lady spies.
Nothing.
All right, let's see. Well, you ought to be able to get it now. We are in the presence of angels.
Is this City of Angels?
Let me see. No, unfortunately, it is not City of Angels.
I'm glad you didn't accidentally hit the air horn.
Any guesses in the chat there?
You are in the presence of angels. You guys are like lady spies, the day drinking. That's what I like the most. I do not know this one.
Well,
is it Boondock Saints?
Unfortunately, it is. Well, yeah, that would be fun. Gentlemen, we are looking at Charlie's Angels.
I have
2019.
Wait, what? They made a new Charlie's Angels in 2019?
Oh.
I had no idea.
My friend. Titan, have you seen this movie?
No, and I never will.
You have not seen this movie.
God, what's her name from the Twilight movies in it?
That is going to make this next one probably a little bit easy. Tell me what you think, boys.
Cold and wet. Yeah, no, come on. The start.
I think we might get hit with the copyright on the music there.
Yeah?
Oh man.
Round number 2. What do we got? What about me, Gandalf? What does my fortune cookie say?
This almost sounds like Mortal Kombat 2.
What do you think? What do you think there, Sergeant Grumpy Pants?
I got nothing.
You kidnapped me. You tied me up. You threw a knife through my fucking leg on purpose.
You might be a little close to the mic there, Redbeard.
Oh, my bad. Let's back it up.
Kidnap me, tie me up. You threw a knife through my leg on purpose.
Oh. You guys do watch movies, right?
Yeah, but nothing.
We didn't
win 9 straight tournaments by following the rules.
Definitely Mortal Kombat.
Which one?
I'm going to say
we got
Dodgeball.
reboots and sequels.
Number 2.
I'm going to say Dodgeball.
Let's see what we've got.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I've never seen this.
2021. And the question now is...
Oh, this is the first Mortal Kombat. Okay.
Who did it better?
The original Johnny Cage. Still the GOAT. Still the GOAT.
The 1995 movie was definitely better.
Okay. How do we blow it up? There's always a way to do that.
Star Wars. Interesting.
So, My Little Pony, we got any guesses? What are we doing?
Star Wars.
Okay.
I'm going to go with episode 4, talking about blowing up the first Death Star.
Episode 4 we got. Let's see. You will remove these restraints and leave this cell with the door open.
It definitely does sound like a Star Wars
Right. Yeah.
movie. You will. You will.
Well, we're looking at reboots and sequels.
Oh, God.
That's not how the Force works. So you're on the right track.
Was on the right track. I honestly don't know, though.
What's that new one? The Force Awakens.
That is
There we go.
The Force Awakens. Now,
It's a trap.
See.
what do we like?
The original, man. And I like to say that this is quite controversial, but it shouldn't be, especially for the OGs. Han shot first. If you know, you know.
Oh, 100%.
Uh-oh.
Come on.
Let's move on. What do we got here? The arrogance of men is thinking nature is in their control and not the other way around. Let them fight.
No.
Nope. Blank.
Man. Okay. Well,
This is not my time
oh
to shine.
boy. Oh boy. The top of a primordial ecosystem, a god for all intents and purposes.
That quote sounds familiar, and I'm probably going to know the movie when you show it, but I can't.
We drawing a
Top
blank
of
here?
fire.
We drawing a
Yeah.
blank, boys?
Biodome.
This alpha predator of yours, Doctor, do we really think he has a chance?
Is this Jurassic Park view?
No.
No.
It's Godzilla.
All right.
Okay, does everyone look at best is best black person?
Oh my God!
You can't beat that original.
You showed me all it takes is fear and a little focused violence. You inspired me.
Oh man, I am sucking so hard at this game. So bad.
Nothing.
Yes. Don't worry, honey. I got 9 of them.
Okay, so it's referencing a cat.
I came into this with the greatest confidence, and now I'm very, very insecure.
Boy, oh boy. Well, listen. We had here's a little clue for you guys. We had
Is this the remake of Cats?
episodes back. We had a episode a couple of episodes back where somebody said all these movies are older, so you can take heart to know that these movies are somewhat newer.
I think I'm hiding in the shadows, but I am the shadows.
Come on, chat, help us
This,
out, you younger crowd.
Is this a Batman movie?
Oh, no.
2022.
Emo Batman.
Anybody see this movie?
I did actually.
Okay. What do you think?
Fat nipples for sure.
Not as bad as the George Clooney Batman.
Oh my goodness.
But
Joel
I mean,
Schumacher's Clooney Batman.
yeah, I don't know. It felt like the movie ran on probably about 30 minutes longer than it should have, and I wasn't too keen on the casting choice for Catwoman. Like, it just didn't do anything for me. So, and I'm not a big
fan?
What's that?
Not a Zoe Kravitz fan.
No, and what's the gentleman's name that plays Batman?
Robert
Pattinson?
He's a sparkly
Yeah.
vampire.
I don't see him as the Batman type. And I know he's got I think they're actually making another Batman with him that's going to be coming out sometime soon. And
I think
it's not for me.
Michael Keaton is probably just because I was a kid that was like, oh, rock my world. That was the Batman for me.
It was like
Round 6. You guys got to step up. Let's go.
Hey, I'm doing all right here.
That's
He's
my
doing
new
better than
suit,
I am.
Bubba. I hope they got it in 42 long.
Nope, got nothing.
None.
I'm a deer in headlights this entire round.
Nice reverse psychology. I can do that too. Don't go yourself.
It's a pretty good line, though. Still got nothing for me.
All right. Get to the choppers.
Well, I don't think Schwarzenegger would have uttered that because it would have been spelled Choppa with
Mhm.
the A at the end.
Yeah, but it does feel like an Aliens Predator reboot.
Ooh, Scott the Robot says the Predator. The Predator.
The Predator, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I never saw that. Wow,
2018.
2018. I didn't know they made him that
You
recent.
didn't see this movie?
I had not.
Come on.
I mean, the original Predator will forever be the GOAT
Do it now.
because they did, you
Yep.
know, they took the approach with the original Predator that it was like a sci-fi / horror flick where, you know, they kept the Predator in the shadows throughout the entire movie. So
Right. The big reveal
Right.
at
It
the
was.
end.
There was a lot of suspense there.
correct.
Nothing is more beautiful than death.
I would beg to differ, but all right.
Yeah.
You are specks of dust under our fingernails. Your very breath is a gift from Olympus.
Is this one of the oh gosh, Titans?
Release the Kraken.
Yeah, I know what
Is
what movie it is.
The remake of Clash of the Titans.
Yeah, there you go. You
They
got
made
one.
They made it. Yeah, I got one. They made another one about the Titans, something of the Titans, but I can't remember the title. Where they did a sequel to that one. Oh God.
Who did it better?
Is that Harry Hamlin? Is that the guy who played the original?
This is
Perseus?
Clash of the Titans, 1981.
I don't know. I mean, the original Clash of the Titans was pretty good. The remake was okay. I don't know. I would have. They took, in my opinion, they took a too modern of an approach with it. It felt a little too modern for that type of story, but it was all right. It was a good popcorn flick.
It was fun. It was fun. Yeah. They were both fun, actually. Clash of the Titans and Wrath of the Titans, which was
Wrath of the Titans. Thank you. God, I couldn't remember that for the life of me.
They were all right.
Round 8.
Let's see. Tell me, are you feeling homicidal, power mad, despotic, no more than usual?
I need somebody to Google search the name or the word despotic and give me a definition and origin.
Yeah, you want this? Well, the spelling is right there. Damn it, man! I'm a doctor, not a torpedo technician.
Nope.
You people, you sons of God!
Oh no! This is one of the Star Trek remakes.
Is it Star Trek
remake.
The Wrath of Khan?
No.
Oh.
Into darkness, my friend.
Into the darkness.
That's right.
Now,
Reboots into it. Yeah.
You tell me. Who did it better?
Oh, Shatner.
Shatner
did it better.
Come on.
Shatner, come on.
The Shat.
Shat.
The Shat.
Oh,
The Shat always does it better.
round number 9, boys.
We need a William Shatner and David Hasselhoff movie, man. Make it happen, people.
If you're nothing without this suit, then you shouldn't have it. Okay, God, I sound like my dad.
It sounds like
It's got to be an Iron Man reference,
That's what I was thinking.
like an Avengers movie or an Iron
You
Man
jumped off
3.
a sign and landed on your face.
That or a Spider-Man reboot.
Something with a Tony Stark.
I think it's the Spider-Man reboot.
Wait a minute. You guys aren't the real Avengers, I can tell. Hulk gives it away.
What is it?
God.
Spider-Man New Way Home or Home?
Nope. It'd be No
Homeward
Way Home.
Bound. Homeward Bound. Spider-Man Homeward
Homeward
Bound.
Bound. Oh boy.
Spider-Man
Well, I think
Homeward Bound.
I think you're on the right track.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Homecoming, my friend.
That's it,
Homecoming.
yeah. That's close. Close enough. I get
Good
half
enough
a
for
point.
government work.
Spider-Man, can you bite me to make me your man?
I literally have to
Or the
say,
Tobey Maguire.
still so happy that we got that scene with all 3 of them in that movie.
That was
was
great.
That was
was
so
great.
great. They threw them all in there into the Spider-Verse, or what was it called? The multiverse.
Yeah, something like that.
Something, yeah.
Scott the Robot says Garfield.
Yeah.
Garfield was the best? Ooh.
He hates
There's a hot
Mondays.
take.
He hates Mondays.
Mhm. All right, what do we got last time? Never underestimate geek power.
I'm failing so hard.
No
with this one.
clue.
Yeah,
This is
nothing.
Val Kilmer. What's that old movie? That's a fail. I forgot. A wise man once said, "Forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for late pizza."
Oh, this is
okay.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. Secret of the Ooze.
Michelangelo,
No.
Party Dude, packing loads of wacky wit, the heart of the family. Somebody say Secret of the Ooze.
I did.
on.
I did. Sorry.
Come on. No, sir. That is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2014.
I didn't like the turtles' looks in this movie at all.
I did not. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 1980s or early 90s version, whatever it was,
Like
89 or 90.
1990 or something like that.
Yep, was definitely the best.
Yeah.
Sorry, boys.
God,
Sorry,
I am
boys.
such a loser at this one. So I lost hard.
That's all right. That was a good one. I thought that went great. That went great.
That was
Here we
fun,
are.
huh? That was fun.
modifying it for the younger generation, and we got very little from the chat helping us out with this. These old guys up here trying to get these new movies, and we're just struggling hard.
That's all good. It's all good. All right. That was good. We are officially ready to move on to the next segment we like to call Allegedly Dumb.
What?
All right.
I don't know how I feel about that.
So this topic comes to us from none other than Sergeant Grumpy Pants. And this is a topic that he and I have gone back and forth on for quite some time. Sergeant Grumpy Pants. Yes, it is. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you so much. Look, very, very controversial. So I'm going to start this off by asking both you, Cigar Titan and Redbeard Riot, this question. So imagine you're playing a video game and you have a controller in your hand and you want that character to look up. Now, let me ask you, in what direction on your joystick do you push? Cigar Titan, you first.
Up, because when you look up, you hit up. That's the only way it makes sense.
Yeah, it's a very logical conclusion. Yeah, but that's a good take. Redbeard, what do you say?
Unfortunately, the answer is down. Cigar Titan has got some dyslexia or something that's whacked in his brain. I'm not
Here
sure
it is.
exactly, but
This is it.
inverted joystick, thumbstick. That's the only way you can play.
Literally the best answer you could have given me, because I felt like I was the odd man out here, because I have always inverted my y-axis, right? But if you did answer up, right, you are technically in the majority. You push up to look up. That's how that goes. So most players, when they push up on their stick or slide the mouse upwards to instigate the upward movement, so to speak, you're going to be doing that in the majority, right? Cigar Titan, you're part of that. Unfortunately, Redbeard Riot and myself don't seem to be. We invert that y-axis. We like to pull back on the joystick to look up, and we push forward.
Yeah, we do.
To look down. We sure do. And this is something that I took a very active interest in, because this is, like, again, it's a very controversial topic between gamers in the gaming community. And we have all gamed for quite some time growing up in the 1980s when the Nintendo Entertainment System first came out in like 1985. We literally had, like, we were at the right there, the verge of at-home gaming consoles. I mean, there were ones before that, obviously. I mean, we're looking at like Intellivision or Atari. They still had that, but we were right there in our youth coming into this. And for gamers who do invert their y-axis, this is how the brain perceives controlling their first-person camera or the third-person object, so to speak. Now, it comes down to a few distinct factors here, and this is actually a study they did, right? And it's a very recent study that was started in 2024, carried on over until 2025, or like early 2025, and then they finally finished publishing the findings in March of 2026, literally this year. So it's a very, very recent study. So I know I wasn't the only one who had this question in their mind, whether I was the odd man out or I was in the majority. It was just an interesting question for me to want to delve down that rabbit hole, so to speak. So I'm glad
you were the only one, I think.
I was the only one who was actively willing to read this entire thing. So what comes down to is, one, frame of reference. Now, when controlling the focal point for non-inverted players, such as yourself, Cigar Titan, many gamers view the joystick as the directional movement of the cursor or crosshairs on the screen, pushing forward to make the cursor go up or down in the corresponding direction of the joystick, right? Then controlling the camera pivot for inverted people, or the inverts, which is how we will be referred to going forward. The inverts.
I'm so inverted.
So inverted. I was inverted, like Maverick in that upside down, you know.
Yep.
So inverted gamers typically visualize the controller or controlling the back of the person's head, right? We look at it as we're seeing it through their lens. And what do we normally do? When we look up, we could feel the muscles pulling on the back of our neck to pull up. We look down, we feel like our muscles kind of wanting to contract or push down in that way. So we correlate it to how the avatar or the character is looking, so to speak. 2, this comes down to a spatial processing and the Simon effect. Now you might be wondering, what is the Simon effect? I'm glad you asked, even though you didn't.
Yeah.
So the study that was conducted by a Jennifer Corbett and her partner, a doctor, I'm going to butcher this name, but Ahap Muneka, I believe is how they pronounce their name. They conducted this in accordance with, with Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT. They also worked hand in hand with Brunel University in London, Ohio State University, and this last one, Bilkent University in Turkey. Now, what they found in cognitive tests, they revealed that this most predictive factor in control preference is how quickly a gamer can adapt mentally rotating objects in 3D space, right? And most of the games that we're subjected to now are that 3D-ish type of format, right? Very immersive, so to speak. You look at games like Call of Duty, you are in the mix. You are seeing first person. There are other games that are shooter games as well, but like Fortnite, you do everything in third person, but it still doesn't change the orientation of the inverted Y axis for gamers like Redbeard Riot and myself, where we pull back on the joystick to look up, push forward to look down. Cigar Titan, you're probably still the same way. Push up to look up, push down to look down. But to overcome the Simon effect, now the Simon effect is named after an American cognitive psychologist named J.R. Simon, who first published this phenomenon back in 1963.
Let me make sure I'm hearing you correctly. Are you saying that those who are not inverted have faster reaction time?
That's what this study is kind of getting down to right now. It's looking at the differences between the two of inverted and non-inverted players, right?
Okay.
So, and what the Simon effect does is it measures how quickly your brain's reaction time and accuracy. Remember, so it comes down to speed and accuracy. The time-old honored question, like which is better, fast or accurate? Okay, and it measures how quickly your brain deals with conflicting stimuli impacted by an event and location irrelevant to the task at hand. So if you're focusing on, and this is just an example, playing Call of Duty and you are in headquarters and you have to plant a bomb or bomb planting or whatever that one is, you're focused on that task, but you have combatants coming in from all around you. The Simon effect is measuring how quickly can you deviate from that main task and then quickly whip around and defend yourself if need be, right? Versus inverted or non-inverted players. And it has something to do with this on-screen mapping and spatial awareness for the 3D camera, translating differently, prioritizing the intuitive object-based frame reference, okay? Now, the third part of this comes down to early exposure and conditioning. Now we're getting back to where we learned this habit from, right? So for older gamers who grew up in the 1980s and 90s, we are looking at inverted controllers that were kind of the unchangeable default in pioneering 3D console and PC games like GoldenEye 007, that was one of them, and Microsoft Flight Simulator. Either of you guys remember playing those?
I've played Flight Simulator a few times. When I'm playing a flight simulator game, then I invert my axis because that's when it makes sense to me. But if I'm playing like a third person single player type of campaign video game, like you said, maybe it's The Last of Us, or even if I'm playing a first person shooter, you know, those games I do not invert my axis. It feels very funky and foreign to me to hit up and I'm looking down at the floor when I can see my character in front of me.
And I find that very interesting because inverters such as Redbeard Riot and myself, we still carry that over from flight simulator games to the first person shooters, whether it's first person perspective or third person, where you kind of see your character from all behind. Same thing. But we scroll left on the joystick or right. We still go the same direction, left or right. But the up and down movement is the biggest key factor and difference.
Well, why not fully commit at that point? Why not make left,
go
right,
completely
right,
opposite?
left? Yeah.
You know, but that's the thing is in aeronautics, when you're flying, you would still maneuver the joystick, the flight controls to the left to go left, right to go right. So that still corresponds even in flight simulators, but in first person shooters, it still carries over in that regard as well. The only difference here is looking up or down versus which way you're pulling on the stick or pushing. So this means that with thousands of hours of this deep neural pathway that is being formed, making the switch to non-inverted, right? So going from inverted back to non-inverted, it feels incredibly unnatural. Now, Redbeard Riot, have you ever picked up a controller being a Y invert yourself and you're like, oh, everything's regular where you push up to look up and pull down to look down? Do you ever go, oh my gosh, I feel completely disoriented? Do you ever have those moments?
I prefer inverted. I can play normal, I guess is what we're calling it. I disagree, but
right.
I prefer inverted. That's how I learned how to play on like Top Gun for Nintendo Entertainment System, for example, and taking it even further back. Anybody ever play Atari? There was games that were flight games on Atari, like Zaxxon and River Raid, and those were the same thing. You couldn't change it. You'd pull back to go up. You would push forward to go down, and just normal, natural, you know.
Which is crazy because you say you can play in standard as opposed to inverted. I cannot. It's completely ridiculous. I can't do it. The same way Cigar Titan can't do inverted in a first-person shooter. He just goes, my brain, it short circuits, and it's just completely foreign to him, where going back to normal, even off of a flight simulator, if I'm going a first-person shooter game, I can't go back to non-inverted, right? I have to have it inverted at all times. Scott the Robot chimed in a couple times, says, I thought I was just bad at video games, and then continues to say, I can't invert at all. I just end up looking at the sky or staring at the sky. Valid. A lot of people do. My daughter does the same thing. Every time she's like, can I play? I was like, it's under my settings. She's like, okay. And she completely forgets I invert my Y-axis. She'll jump on and she's like, oh God, your controllers are stupid. I forgot. And I'm like, wow, this is echoing a lot of what Cigar Titan says. I have been known to go to Cigar Titan's house on many occasions, and I will play under his settings, and I'll
deliberately invert my Y-axis and leave it like that.
And just leave it. I never revert back, and just let him kind of figure out.
That's like the worst sin you can commit in a gamer's home, is to go in there and mess and tinker around with all their settings and just walk out. Like, that's almost diabolical.
Do you equate it to like someone walking into your house and putting the seat down to take a piss?
No, I equate it like cheating. Like if my fiance were to cheat on me, that's how I feel when somebody inverts my Y-axis and leaves it. It's like they cheated on me.
That's the betrayal.
That's a personal, deep wound right there. And I will take this time to formally apologize, so you don't have to put it in the apology next week, Redbeard Riot. I am sorry. I from the deepest bowels and recesses of my soul, I do deeply apologize because, no, I'm just kidding. I really don't fucking care. But I will continually come to your house and invert your Y-axis on all your consoles.
So you can't.
I can't. I'm incapable of doing it. I literally cannot. I push up to look down, and all of a sudden I'm staring at the sky, just like Scott the Robot says at the end of the day. They're just staring at the sky. And I'm like, oh my brain cannot make that switch. It's impossible. And
what was the first game you like? It sounds like Redbeard's first experience with that was probably on Atari. And see, that's probably where my first experience with an inverted Y-axis started, was on Atari. And so again, for flight type of simulator games or games where I'm supposed to be flying, I keep that axis inverted. But for anything else, it's not. So Sergeant Grumpy Pants, what was your first experience with a video game where you had inverted Y-axis? Was it just something that was already inverted when you started playing, or did you naturally gravitate to something so ridiculous that what was it? Was it you like to be a psychopath, or was
What he's
it
asking is what he's asking is, why are you like this?
So I don't know why I am like this, but I can pinpoint the exact time when I started inverting y-axis was 2007 when PlayStation 3 first came out with Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the very first Modern Warfare version, because the other renditions we had was Call of Duty, and it was like storming the beaches of Normandy. It was World War II stuff. This was the first time they had put in Modern Warfare, modern tech, modern weaponry. And Cigar Titan was the first one to introduce this to me. He came out for a visit back in 2007 when I was first living here, and he brought with him his PlayStation 3. He's like, let's hook it up and play it. You got to play it. It's amazing. I was like, all right, let's see how good it can be. And I went through the whole storyline. I was like, wow, I fell in love with it. It was amazing. He's like, you need to get a PlayStation 3. And I was like, I absolutely do. And I will be. Yes. And then that's kind of where I got bit by the bug. But even then playing it, when he brought it over, I felt it weird because I was pushing up to look down. Just normal. I don't know why it did. It just, I know, right? Literally, it's just the way it was. But it was 2007 with Call of Duty from Modern Warfare in the PlayStation 3 console. So that means when I like to invert the controllers, the genuine division and debate of this topic amongst the gaming community, but it does come down to two distinct things: is generational and habitual, right? Those are the two biggest factors that really push you in the direction of which way you're going to be able to play this. Mine, I think it was just generational and habitual, because when I started playing it in 2007, that's just what stuck. But I don't know what led to me needing to do that. It just did. So the final results basically of this entire thing, just kind of summarize it here. It does come down to the age-old question, accuracy versus speed. And in that, the findings conclusively state, while non-inverted players tend to slightly be faster at spatial tasks, inverters are actually slightly more accurate in their actions. So let's say we're playing Call of Duty and Domination, and we're on a flag, and you're watching the meter on the flag. You're watching your screen on that flag. That's the task at hand, right? You're watching that to make sure you capture that flag. And then all of a sudden, from the left or the right or whichever direction, boom, 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 you're getting hit markers because you're getting shot. Cigar Titan might be the first one to turn around, but he'll whip off shots that will miss. Where we go a beat later and go, oh, we're getting shot at. We'll turn, and 9 times out of 10, we will hit the target before he does.
And be dead before we even have a chance to get the shot off.
Right, maybe. But that's what it comes down to, is inverters. We're a little bit faster and we're not faster. We're more accurate. And non-inverteds are faster at the response. We're just more accurate at it. So again, age question here. What's more important, speed or accuracy? And that's kind of what this whole thing broke down.
If you're playing a fighting game, do you invert your access on a fighting game? So when you want to duck on a fighting game, do you hit up or do you hit down to jump?
That would be a different scenario depending. If I'm doing it in first person, like a boxing game or something of that nature, where I'm seeing the gloves and that's all I see from the avatar, I would then invert the y-axis. But if I'm playing sideways like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, those controls would stay completely the same, because I'm not seeing it from the perspective of the character or the avatar. I'm seeing it from like this sideways panoramic view. And that is another interesting question. Why don't I invert it then for fighting games like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat in that format or perspective, so to speak? Again, another interesting question. But when it comes down to it, facing the screen head on, I invert. Redbeard inverts. You do not. So you're faster at recognizing trauma or bad things happening on either side of the screen. But Redbeard and myself, we're going to be noticing it split second slower than you, but we'll hit the target first. It's interesting. So but that's what it comes to, the conclusion.
This is your argument for why you're better at Call of Duty than me.
I never said those words.
Why your KD ratio is better than mine.
I don't know. I feel like, this so-called accuracy isn't doing anything to help me. I potentially could use a little bit more speed, because every time I got some kid who sounds like he hasn't gone through puberty coming over and teabagging my character, telling me that my mom is a whore.
At that point in time, it's completely irrelevant. You're just ready to be trolled at online, and so, but that's what you're subjected to with online gameplay. And those are probably by far my favorite games to play. Are the first-person shooters like Call of Duty, Battlefield, things of that nature. But I always invert the y-axis, as does Redbeard, with the exception of in this lobby, Cigar Titan. You're the only non-inverted player here. Why do you think that is?
Because I'm normal, first and foremost.
See, it is. I remember one time you made the equivalent remark that it was a mental disorder that we inverters suffer from.
Yeah, I've somebody said that in the chat as well. Some mental
brain damage,
disability.
maybe.
Yeah,
brain damage, maybe.
What are button mashers good at? Button mashers are good at beat 'em ups because you don't really need too much skill at a beat 'em up. You've just got to be able to understand what 3 buttons do, and you're good. You're good.
Case in point, Eddie Gordo, Tekken 2, all the flippity dippities. You could just button mash that guy, and he just does his Brazilian dancing fighting, and you're just like, I'm kicking your butt. What combos are you throwing? I don't know. I'm just mashing all the buttons at once, and I'm winning.
Button mashers are good at they're good at Diablo. Is what button mashers.
Yeah, Diablo. That's another good one for sure. I think I don't know. I've been playing video games my entire life, and I think it's fair to say that I'm probably the most global gamer out of the 3 of us, meaning I tend to play a wide variety of very different types of video games. So it's not just first person shooters or like MOBAs or things like that. I'm all over the place when it comes to video games. So I've grown up with them over the years, and I think probably why I don't invert is because I've just over time adapted to whatever the natural or the not natural, but what the default settings are on most games. Because almost every single game you play, whether it's a first person shooter, and I think even most flight simulators these days do not automatically start off with an inverted y-axis. The default settings are always, you press up to look up and down to look down. And that's what I eventually just got accustomed to, I think, just because that's what most games were set up as. So,
yeah. And like I said, the generational and habitual, 2 biggest influencers for that. Now, my other question to you is, on a flight simulator based game, would you be able to play it non-inverted?
Yes, and I've done that. Like when I used to play Star Wars Battlefront, and you would get into like the vehicles and the ships and stuff like that. You would fly around. I wouldn't always invert my y-axis on that, and I could get used to it. But if I'm playing a game that's strictly a flight simulator type of game, I'll usually go in at the beginning and invert the y-axis, because that feels, when I'm flying, for whatever reason, it feels more natural. Like, and that was like the time we spent in arcades, right? We were joking around earlier this week about the video game or the arcade game Afterburner. Yeah. And for those of you who are too young to remember, back in the day when they had this thing called arcades, they had this giant machine that was set up like an actual cockpit of a fighter jet. And you sat inside this thing, and it would tilt and move, your entire body. And it had a joystick that would rest right between your legs. And when you were playing that, you would press forward and you would go down, and you would pull up and you would go up. And that's just what feels natural to me for flight simulator games.
I remember arcades. If you ran in there, even with $10 worth of quarters, you were like, you had unlimited access. You had all the money, right? You're just like, oh yeah, I could play all these games, right? Yep. But then like prices started at 25 cents a pop back when I was a kid. Then they went up to 50 cents a pop. And then as the game became bigger in relevance and popularity, obviously, that price drastically jumped up. Redbeard Riot had mentioned a long time ago, I think one of the last times we were just kind of sitting around shooting the breeze at Disneyland in the Starcade at the exit by Space Mountain, right over by Star Tours. They had that the Afterburner game, I think is what it was, but they had like that 360 gyro cockpit you sat in, and that thing spun all over the place. And that ran, do you remember exactly how much that was going for, Redbeard Riot?
It was like $5 in like 1985.
Right, $5 to play this game in 1985. You sat in a cockpit and the thing 360 spun you everywhere, which was fantastic because everyone's like, "Oh, look at the technology, it's so great." Now we're just like, Cigar Titan, you might not be able to do it. You have an inner ear problem, so that would turn into spin art really quickly.
Mom,
After a churro, a turkey leg.
Can I have $5, Mom?
Yeah, for what? I want to play one video game.
Oh.
Well, arcades are very different today. Today, you don't see a lot of standalone arcades out there much anymore. There are a few, but you have to know where to look. Most of them are inside like a Family Fun Center or a Dave and Buster's or something like that.
Right.
And video games these days don't even take quarters. Now it's like credits. You have to buy a card and you put all of your money on this card, and then you scan a card when you walk over to it. Yeah. And it's not your standard type of video games either anymore. Most of it is what I would equate to like the gyro cockpit thing for like Afterburner. It's all like supposed to be kind of an immersive experience where you sit inside this thing and maybe it's a Jurassic Park thing where you've got dinosaurs chasing after you and you're shooting them or something silly. But those games all start, I think, like $1 and up now. You're not going to find anything for 25 cents anymore.
Jeez,
Anybody remember the nickel arcade?
I do.
No,
I do. Nickel arcade?
Every machine in there was broken, but it was nickel.
Oh man.
Well, I remember like you could even find a couple of good arcade games over in like 7-Elevens back in the day. I think that's where we found the Street Fighter Rainbow Edition, which was the bootleg version of Street Fighter where anything goes. You could throw like 50 fireballs and have 50 fireballs on the screen at one time. That was a great time.
It got really stupid really fast.
Oh god, late 80s, early 90s, with us being around 10 to 13 years old, somewhere in that age range, and walking into a 7-Eleven and just hanging out at a 7-Eleven all day is something that people don't do anymore. It's just not a thing. It's definitely a shift in culture and the technology and the way things have gone.
You do have a lot of people that hang out at 7-Elevens now. They're just outside and they're usually like
pissing themselves
on fentanyl and
doing
themselves.
Doing the boogie slump.
Yep. But they do technically hang out at 7-Eleven all day.
And I always have a hard time remembering, but when you, myself, and Redbeard would go to this gaming place in Upland, and I can never remember the name of this arcade.
James.
That's it. Yes, James Games. That was it. And it was right next to that little Podunk Head coffee shop, and we always got a cappuccino and smoked our cigarettes, and then went and spent like $20 in quarters. And I would sit there and just watch you play Street Fighter over and over and over and over and over again. And I'm just like, how do you just immerse yourself into it so intensely? But you were legitimately interested and invested, not just in the story, but the characters and the characters' individual stories of that game as well. But then you started doing this thing where I'm like, how did you get a 55 hit combo? Like, what is that? Like, it started getting ridiculous.
Yeah, that Street Fighter was my first real world addiction, without a doubt. That was something that got its hooks in me at a very early age. And like, man, any free time I had, I wanted to be in the arcade playing Street Fighter. Like, and I got very good at it. I wish there were more tournaments back then, like there are now with all of the Evo tournaments and everything they have going on, because I think I probably would have done pretty well back in the day had those tournaments existed. But
I don't know. You probably weren't Asian enough.
we played that game for hours and hours.
We go over.
And then when it
house.
came out on Super Nintendo, like that, it was over.
Hey, you guys want to come over and play Street Fighter? I'm like, no, I'm okay. Why don't we just walk outside? You can kick me in the balls for 5 minutes and we'll just call it a day. Because that's literally what would happen. He's like, come on, I won't corner you guys and just trip you up the entire time.
Yeah.
Right. Sure.
Yeah, that was the beginning of the downfall, in my opinion, of arcades. Is once Street Fighter, which in my opinion was like the first real like arcade, like that was what was driving hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people into arcades. And then Mortal Kombat, when that stuff started coming to home console, it was all over for arcades.
Well, that's why you
Game
could find them in
over.
a 7-Eleven, was because that game ruled the world at that time.
Yeah.
But that's it. It literally comes down to if you're an invert, such as Redbeard, right, and myself, you're more accurate. But if you're a non-inverted, you're going to be faster. But faster doesn't always equal, like, hitting the mark, so to speak.
Listen to him justifying.
I have to.
his
I mean, that's my
mental illness.
position. You know how many? Yeah, exactly. You know how many times I've been called, "You have a disease. It's a problem."
Well, didn't you say something too? Because we were talking about this very briefly at the beginning of the week when you were talking about how you used to skate on your skateboard too, right?
Yes, that was also a big controversy amongst us and our little skating crew that we had back in the day. I would ride regular foot, but I would push Mongo. So my left foot would be towards the front of the board, but I would keep my back foot planted and push with my front foot on the left side of the board, which is Mongo footed. Mongo, like candy, not Mongol, Mongo. And I was Mongo footed, but I was regular Mongo footed. And everyone just looked at me like, why are you like this? What's your problem? I don't know. Apparently it just carried over into video games too. I'm just odd.
There's so many times where we might ask you, why are you like this?
So many times. But that's it. That's all I got, gentlemen. When it comes down to it, it just comes down to accuracy versus speed. And that's what it comes down to. The science of it all, as it were.
Awesome. Well, good topic. All right, let's shift gears here. But before we get into our next topic, just a quick reminder for those of you who are joining us for the first time, and this is your first exposure to Smoke Signals and Side Quest. This is going to be the last episode we shoot on the Cigar Titans YouTube channel. So if you want to see more Smoke Signals and Side Quest, go over to our YouTube channel called Smoke Signals and Side Quest and like and subscribe over there. Our first official episode 1, will air on the Smoke Signals and Side Quest YouTube channel next Saturday at 7 p.m. Pacific time. So be sure to check us out there. All right, gentlemen, are we ready to get into the final topic for tonight?
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, this is a segment we like to call the burn line. I spent like 20 minutes putting that intro together. I feel pretty good about it.
Why don't more news stations have intros like that? Seriously.
Yeah,
They have the tech. We have the tech. Come on.
It would rock.
It really would. It really
it.
would.
All right. Well, hey, look, I've got several things queued up for us to take a look at today with this topic, but I did want to start off by asking if you gentlemen are aware of some of the most recent news that has been circulating through the news outlets this week. And I actually had a completely separate topic planned for today's episode, but because this story has just been at the top of the news charts all week long, I felt it appropriate that we sit down and discuss it today. And that is the case of Carmelo Anthony versus Austin Metcalf. And
I haven't heard about this. What is this?
You haven't heard about it? Not at all, huh? Redbeard must have been under a rock this week. Yeah. This was the case where there were 2 high school students. Apparently, Carmelo Anthony was in the tent. So there was a track meet going on. And Carmelo Anthony found himself, for whatever reason, in the tent of a high school he did not belong to, underneath with a bunch of students he did not go to school with. And Austin Metcalf, who was actually, I believe, put in charge, was the captain put in charge by the coach of the tent, at some point in time asked Carmelo Anthony to leave the tent. Carmelo Anthony refused to leave the tent. There's been some speculation on how long the conversation went back and forth, but it's anywhere between 6 and 15 minutes so far from what I've heard, where they were going back and forth. He was being asked to leave the tent. He was refusing. And at some point, Carmelo Anthony made the comment of touch me and see what happens, or touch me and find out what happens. I'm paraphrasing here, but it was something to that effect. Apparently, Austin Metcalf may have shoved, I'm not sure, may have shoved or pushed Carmelo Anthony or tried to remove him from the tent at some point, and Carmelo Anthony pulled out a knife and stabbed Austin Metcalf in the chest, ultimately cost Austin Metcalf his life. This has been, I believe this has been going on for the last couple of years. And so they were recently in trial. And this week we actually got back a verdict on the Carmelo Anthony case. And Carmelo Anthony was found guilty of murder and sentenced to 35 years in prison, where he has to serve a mandatory half of that 35-year sentence before he is eligible for any type of parole. Gentlemen, have you heard? I'm assuming you guys have heard the story so far, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. So now, for all intents and purposes, you would think, okay, one kid stabs another kid in the chest and gets convicted of murder. It should be a done deal. Now, I have deliberately withheld some very key information from that case for a reason, because when you say it like that, when you say, hey, look, one kid was in a place he was not supposed to be in, he was asked to leave several times, and he makes the comment, touch me and find out and see what happens, leads you to believe that there's probably some intent there. He knows, like, hey, I've got a weapon on me, and if you touch me, I'm going to use this weapon. And ends up stabbing another kid in the chest and unaliving him. Seems like a pretty cut and dry case. Now, I think if that were all there was to this case, we probably wouldn't be talking about it today. But because Carmelo Anthony is black and Austin Metcalf was white, this has drummed up a bunch of controversy based off of race and skin color. And it's unfortunate. Any general thoughts before we get into some of the videos that I have queued up for us here today, Red Beer Riot?
Yeah. Don't stab people.
I think that's pretty good, right? Don't stab people.
It's generally just a pretty good idea. Don't stab people.
Yep.
I don't
Sergeant
care what color you are. Don't stab people.
Yeah. Sergeant Grubby Pants, any initial thoughts?
Why, when you're at a high school track event, would you bring a knife?
That's a great question. Why would you have a knife on you at all when you're at a high school track event? When you're a high school student, period.
Right.
I
thought knives were generally banned, zero tolerance on school property. Like knives, you couldn't have it. You couldn't have it in class. So why would you have it at a sanctioned school event like a track meet? That's very bizarre. Why?
Seems like a valid question. There was also some initial reports that Austin Metcalf's father actually, at the beginning of this whole thing, had made an attempt at some point to go to the church that the the Anthony family was attending to hopefully make some amends and to not make this about race. And unfortunately, it seems like the Anthony family could not help themselves but make this about race, because I'm not sure how, and this episode was titled when the criminal becomes the victim, because the victim here, the true victim, in my opinion, is the person who's no longer with us. This was the person who got stabbed in the chest and killed at a high school track meet. I fail to see how the victim of this incident is the person who stabbed him. I mean, gentlemen, am I way off base here thinking that?
No, not even a little bit. Not even at all.
What kind of crazy upside down world do we live in where you can even imagine reversing that? That's wild.
Yeah, pretty crazy. Well, immediately after the verdict, Carmelo Anthony's mother, actually on her way out of the courthouse, was actually making some comments as she was getting into the car, that I think further, that's not the video, further was inciting or trying to further create some racial divide here.
Oh, good. Let's add fuel to the flames then.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, I just don't get it. I don't understand how the person who gets stabbed and loses their life ultimately is now the one who is being chastised as a racist and a bigot. Any initial thoughts on that, gentlemen, while I'm looking for the video here?
Yeah, one that comes across my mind is the fact that you had said earlier, kind of leading up into this, that Austin Metcalf, he's the young individual who was stabbed and lost his life. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. He was operating as the team captain under the authority of his coach. Is that also correct?
That is what I understand, yes.
Okay, so if he was operating in the capacity as an extension of the coach, just trying to keep things in his team tent, where an individual who did not belong to that team was there, he was just operating in the regards of what the coach gave him the authority to do, just like, maintain the team. If anybody doesn't belong here, just let them know they got to leave. Well, if they let them know they got to leave, why didn't he just leave? Begs the question. If Austin Metcalf wasn't there and the coach just had taken matters into his own hands because he's the coach and he was the authority to do so, if he had told Carmelo Anthony is the individual who did the aggressive, knifing, correct?
Correct.
Would Carmelo Anthony had then reacted the same way with stabbing the coach in the chest because he just didn't like how he was being spoken to, or what? Or that's an interesting question for myself. Why the student but not the coach? If the coach had then been there, would it have played out the same?
I did have
hypothetical.
Somewhat of a similar question, I guess, which was, if I could, I suppose if there's any criticism potentially to be, pointed out on the part of Austin, it might be, well, listen, maybe there should have been an adult brought in, or, that's maybe splitting hairs, but, two teenage guys, one is trying to push the other one out. The other one is, not wanting to go. And I don't know.
I mean, if things escalated to a physical altercation, then get into a fisticuffs, right? Like fight. Okay, you fight. You defend yourself. If Carmelo Anthony legitimately felt fearful, like something was going to happen by this whole situation going down, why didn't he just come to blows, right? Why did it have to get so aggressively accelerated to an unaliving of a young individual? Why bring a knife to the track meet to begin with? It seems almost premeditated, like it was intentionally thought out, like this was something that was going to be planned. He was preparing it for, right? It's speculation, in my opinion, but at the same time, I mean, just because someone's telling you to leave and you feel threatened by them, if they don't have a weapon, you don't get to accelerate that with a weapon. Like, you just don't get to do that.
Well, and
it doesn't rise to deadly force.
Yeah, I mean, look, you were in a place you were not supposed to be. You let your ego get the best of you. It had nothing to do with the fact that you were black. And for whatever reason, whether it's you felt entitled to be in there, your ego got the best of you, you were raised by people who told you don't ever let, white people tell you what to do. Don't ever let somebody tell you, where you can be or whatnot. You don't have to go and move for anybody. For whatever reason, Carmelo Anthony, thought that he didn't have to leave that tent. Nothing justifies stabbing another kid in the chest and taking their life. I don't care. And to your point, Sergeant Grumpy Pants, if the situation had escalated to a point to where, they were putting hands on each other, the first thing my first thought in any fight I've ever been in is not, I'm going to pull out a weapon and I'm going to kill this person. It's okay. Well,
Right.
we're going to be fighting. And that's what it is. It's going to be a fight. I don't know. I wouldn't go so far as to say that Carmelo Anthony brought a knife to the tent with the intention of using it. However, you do have a knife on you for a reason, right? I mean, that it's not to make sandwiches, I'm assuming, and if you are threatening, somebody and saying, watch what happens, and your first reaction is to go and grab said knife and plunge that into the heart of, another student, that to me seems like a pretty clear cut, dry case. But this is what Carmelo Anthony's mom had to say as she was leaving the courthouse. And I'll go ahead and play that now.
A white person can hit a black boy and hit a white man.
That's it.
Yeah.
They send a message. Yeah.
We love y'all.
It ain't the end of the road.
We love y'all.
Real quick, saying the same thing over and over again and getting louder and shouting doesn't make you right. By the way,
No.
it's not a valid basis for an argument, and it definitely doesn't prove that you are standing on any real good moral authority. It just shows that you have absolutely no way to articulate how you're feeling about a situation like an adult, right? A couple comments here. Scott the Robot goes on to say, how about you don't just go places where you don't belong, leave when you are asked, and don't stab people, or just leave. And then they continue on saying, oh, he wasn't raised right. And then they go on to say, I rest my case. That's Carmelo Anthony's mother, correct?
That was his mom. Yeah. For me personally, the whole, like the race car being thrown out everywhere. I'm so sick and tired of this argument. I am so fed up with it. If this had been reversed and it had been a white kid stabbing a black kid in the heart at a school that he was not supposed to be at, in a tent he was not supposed to be sitting in, there would be riots in the street right now. And I'm 100% confident that is absolutely what would be happening right now. There would be a massive uproar. And again, when the role is reversed and this is a white kid getting stabbed and killed, surprisingly, there's no riots. There's no civil unrest. We're not out there losing our minds and calling, the other side racist and everything. But I think it gets to a point to where, for me, like I have to, at some point, we need to acknowledge that it is possible to be racist on the other side of that aisle there. It is possible for somebody who's black to be racist. And when you're constantly throwing out the race card and that's your only justification for everything, there's no argument there. And look, if this was truly about race, don't you think that the defense attorneys would have brought that up in trial? Like, yes, this was a defense case. This was supposed to be the case they were presenting was a self-defense case, and clearly that didn't pan out based off of the evidence. But if this was in fact a actual race-related case and Austin Metcalf was a racist and had used racial language and had done something based off of race, don't you think that the defense would have brought that up in trial? Redbeard, what do you think?
Well, it's you bring up the point about the defense and whether or not it's race related, and I would point out or maybe make the case. Let's say, for example, that Carmella was in this tent, and everybody in the tent just decided to jump Carmelo, right? And they went and now it's a beat down, and everybody's coming after him. At that point, I'm going to be like, why do you have a knife? But I'm not necessarily going to be crazy upset that you defended yourself, because you're in a deadly force situation. Some
Right.
A group of people might stomp you to death, and you have the right to defend yourself under those situations, right?
Yeah.
And the defense wants to, and maybe he's got a bad attorney. I don't know. Like the self-defense argument didn't seem to be a very strong case at all, when essentially everyone who's a witness to this, I think even one of whom was one of like Carmelo's friends, says, hey, this guy was not under threat. There was no threat here. And, just, I think growing up, we all have experienced some people, and I'm not going to say white or, and there's not necessarily any color ascribed to it, but people who, the highest priority for them is respect, is pride, is whatever, right? And so when they feel disrespected, sort of any level of aggression in return is like justified, right? You insulted somebody, and so now they're going to be coming after you, or whatever the case is.
Yeah, it's an honor thing, and I think that culturally there are certain cultures out there, and I don't think it's just necessarily in Black culture, but I do think there are cultures out there where if you disrespect somebody's honor, then to them that is justification for taking your life,
right?
And I think that is part of what we're seeing here. It says Black guitar maker 1925, Weirdy isn't being charged with possession of a weapon on school property. I don't know if that was a part of the charges or not.
I don't think it was necessary to be a part of the charges.
They were focusing more on the actual stabbing there, but good point. But and in Redbeard, to your point, it's just, again, I think it's a cultural thing. And I think that, in a lot of these homes, children are being raised around this radical racial identity and this radical racial culture where, it's like, don't ever let a white person talk to you sideways. Don't ever let a white person do this or say this to you. If they do that, you take their life. And I can understand people are listening to this or watching this now are probably thinking, no, that's not true. Well, hold on, because I've got some actual proof to back up what I'm saying. But when it comes to, the Metcalf family, the father initially said, hey, look, I don't want to make this about race. Please don't make this about race, because this is just going to get real ugly if you make it about race. And that's exactly what they did. And there's zero evidence to the fact that this incident was in any way race related, other than the simple fact that one of the students was Black and one of the students were white. That's the extent of the involvement with race in this entire situation. There was no allegations of any type of racial comments or slurs that had been made. To my knowledge, none of these students even knew who Carmelo Anthony was prior to the incident in the tent. So it wasn't like there was a history. I kept hearing, oh, they're bullying him. No, not bullying him. When you're somewhere you're not supposed to be and you're asked to leave, you get up out of your fucking chair and you walk out. You leave. You're not supposed to be there. I don't know what it is that makes you think you're entitled to be in a certain location, or why certain people can't ask you to leave. But if you're not supposed to be there, you get up and you walk out. Now, had he gotten up and walked out, we wouldn't be talking about this today. None of us would be talking about this today.
No.
But he didn't.
And you wouldn't be sentenced.
Right, exactly. Black Guitar Maker 1925 says if the roles were reversed, they wouldn't be hanging on race, even if the entire jury and judge and all were African Americans. Look, and there was some arguments too that this was an all-white jury. It was not an all-white jury, predominantly white, sure, but there was also Asian, Hispanic, and I think Indian jurors on this case. So this was not an all-white jury. And for those of you who are wondering why there were no black folks on this jury, they were dismissed, and part of that was because some of them were school teachers, and other comments from potential black jurors were, I can't see myself convicting another black person of murder. Well, if you can't be a biased juror, then you're not going to be on the trial. They're just not going to allow you to be on the trial. If you're going to come into it with the bias that I don't care what this black kid did, I'm going to acquit them or find him not guilty, then that is not an unbiased jury, and we can't have that.
Well, that seems to be some of the conversation that you're hearing now moving forward is maybe along the in the vein of it doesn't matter what he did, he should have done more. Oh, they should have done his brother too. Like some stuff that's getting really gross.
Yeah. Well, and this video here was somebody that was on his legal team. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that up now and play that for you guys.
Let us talk. This was a legal lynching that happened in here today. We can't hear. All right. I said as a former prosecutor, this was a legal lynching that happened in this slaughterhouse. This is a slaughterhouse. This is not a courthouse. This courthouse is designed when you would come here and you look like us to slaughter you. That judge intentionally.
Gentlemen, your thoughts on what she said? It's a legal lynching. It's a slaughterhouse, the courthouse there.
I don't see anybody running out with meat hooks to throw her up on the rack and try to skin her alive and make, ribs out of her or anything of that nature. So what is she really on about? And when you're tried by a jury of your peers, were a majority of the members of this jury male? Because that's what Carmelo Anthony was. He's a male, right? But he is underage. So you can't have a bunch of underage high school kids on the jury, right? Obviously.
Well, I think he was underage when the crime took place, but he's 19 years old now. So he's being sentenced as an adult.
So he's being sentenced as an adult. If the majority of the peers on there are men and adults, regardless of skin color or race or ethnicity or whatever, then he's being tried fairly by a jury of his peers, right? It doesn't have to be all black jury, because that's the definition. So legally, the status is that's what that is. If they're looking for a definitive difference between justice and the law, well, those are two very different things as well, right? The law will supersede whatever justice is, but the judge will also have the final say of what he believes is justified according to the law. That's what my understanding of it goes.
Redbeard, what are your thoughts? Legal lynching, slaughterhouse.
Probably somewhat hyperbolic there, although I think that they're, you'll see this typically when you have, a trial, a court trial, and there's one side that has, they're supported by one side, this guy's supported by that side, and somebody gets convicted, the side of the guy who gets convicted is going to be unhappy, and they're going to, oh, this is a miscarriage of justice, and all these kinds of things, and you have the right to feel that way. Fortunately, we have an ability within our legal system to have appeals and all this kind of stuff. I mean, I didn't follow this trial super close, but from some of what I did get, it The evidence was pretty damning.
Yeah, pretty
overwhelmingly one-sided.
I mean, what would we say if all of the evidence is overwhelmingly one-sided, and then let's say, and then an all-black jury acquits Carmelo Anthony, right? Austin Metcalf's family is going to be making similar comments, that this is a miscarriage of justice, this is a travesty, this is, all these kinds of things. I get, people are upset their side didn't win.
Yeah,
but under that, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, underneath that premise, if that worked out that way, then would the Metcalf family then be just easily discarded as, well, they're just being racist because they didn't get their way?
Maybe.
Look, I mean, again, the facts are Carmelo Anthony stabbed and killed another student.
Yeah, facts.
With no prior, history with this student. So there's no way there was a history of any type of, bullying or racial discrimination or anything to that nature. This was, from what I understand, the first time those two individuals had ever met. And you were in a location you were not supposed to be in. And so I keep trying to wrap my head around, what are people on the other side of this aisle so upset with, outside of the fact that that student was white? That student's dead. He's dead. He doesn't get, that father and that mother never get to see that student, that child, come home from school again. It's over. That brother, because he was a twin, never gets to see his brother Austin come through that door again, because Carmelo Anthony decided that he was going to let his ego get the better of him, and he was going to take that kid's life. And so I don't understand the argument here of, oh, we're so upset. For me, I'm so exhausted. There's been terms being thrown around, online, like, fatigue and everything. I'm so sick of this argument. I'm so sick of, people telling me that I'm racist. I've been racist since birth because I'm white. I don't know what it's like, to grow up underprivileged. I don't know what it's like, to be a slave, and neither do you, motherfucker. Nobody alive today was ever a slave, ever. Okay. Now, this argument that, like, oh, it's the white people holding black people down. I'm so exhausted. The mentality here is so backwards that we've gotten to this place, like, and I'm going to play this clip right now, where this lady genuinely doesn't know what to tell her son. She doesn't know what to tell her 5 sons when it comes to what type of world they live in. I'll play that now.
To be honest, why are we here? What are we here for? Because if we take up,
I'll play that again.
to be honest, why are we here? What are we here for? Because if we take up for ourselves, we go to jail. If we don't, we die. So it's a catch-22 in this situation. What do you want us to do? What do you want us to do at this point? What?
Walk away and don't stab anybody.
It's funny you say that, because I was able to locate another video online with a gentleman who does have 5 kids of his own. And this was the message he had for the lady you just saw in the video.
What do you want us to do? What do you want us to do at this point? What? I'm lost for it. I don't know what to do. I got 5 boys. I don't know what. I ain't got nothing to tell them no more. You can't walk away no more. What do you want us to do?
I also had 5 boys. She doesn't know what to do after the Carmelo incident. Like, what to tell her sons, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and try something. Today, boys, when you go out into school, don't stab any other kids. You feel good about that, Ace?
Yeah.
Oh, you're Aunt Trail. This is Ace. So, is that a good commitment from everybody? We're not going to stab any kids today? Hey, try that, lady. That might work.
Wow.
The thing
Solid dad advice.
The thing that is irritating about somebody saying you can't walk away no more, what are we supposed to do, is that's exactly what Carmelo could have done.
Just
walk away, and we wouldn't be here at all.
And you're talking about the cultural differences between that I need to stand up for myself because they're saying things about me that aren't true. Well, if they're not true, then why are you so easily offended by these things? They're just words. You know, be upset if they're saying something that's insulting and it is true. You know, that's the biggest difference. If anything was even hurled that way in his direction, why are you getting upset about things that were said? It's no big deal. Walk away. And well, I got my pride. Okay, well, pride's a sin. And this is the end result of that sin, is you're going to allow it to incarcerate you for the next 35 years is what he got sentenced?
35 years, yeah.
35 years. The kid is 19 years old. He's going to be in his 30s, late
Throwing
30s.
away 2 lives.
Two lives. Over what? Pride?
Yeah. Over not being able to walk away. Black guitar maker, 1925, says, actually, know how self-defense works. That's what you do. Learn and rise above your current ignorance. Absolutely.
Hallelujah.
Absolutely. Well, and look, I mean, this has spawned a ton of different memes and posts online too from the Black community. And when I say the Black community, I'm specifically talking about a certain sect of the Black community. And it's just been pretty disgusting to see some of the stuff that's being put out. You know, where there's now this trend going around where they're pissing on the grave of Austin Metcalf.
There's too many N's for the name Austin.
Yeah, well, and I'm not even going to address the fact that apparently that's a woman, but she's standing to be. But anyway,
apparently a lot of these are AI images, and not actual people. But what are we doing? Well, what is this? Right. Like, if
and it goes on.
Let's say we're all the big racists. If this was backwards and there was a white guy pissing on somebody's grave.
Right.
No, I'm gonna say no. No, but this is I'm gonna say no. That guy needs to go to jail. You know what I mean? Like that's I'm not on team white, right? Like you're a piece of shit, and you need to go away from this society,
civilized society. People like this have no
that
place
doesn't
in
belong.
Civilized society.
No,
none whatsoever. I think and again, if you're looking to garner sympathy, to get your point across, to get more people involved with your cause, maybe pissing on the grave of a student who lost his life might not be the way. And what blows my mind, I mean, look at this. This is a photo here of a guy obviously being superimposed, urinating on the headstone of Austin Metcalf. Over 4,000 people liked this photo. Over 4,000 people thought that this is okay. It's okay. Like, again, what did Austin do besides try to remove this guy from a place he didn't belong to begin with? Like, I don't know what this kid did that garnered so much evil and hatred from the other side of this to warrant people imposing themselves in pictures, urinating on the ground. Like, I look at society today and like, I weep, man. It makes me so sad. I've got a daughter that's not even a year old yet that I've got to raise. And she's going to be out there in the world with people like this and people who think that this is okay. 4,000 people who think this is okay. 2,000 people who think this is okay. Like it blows my mind. I mean, where are we, Redbeard, as a society today where we think that putting images like this online is okay? Like how did we get here?
Well, I mean, look, we are definitely in a bifurcated society right now where, you know, and part of this is sort of like a fracturing of the central narrative of our American culture, right? You have the internet now, and there's all sorts of different points of view that come out, and you know, I get a lot of the same kind of videos that come up in my feed when I'm browsing YouTube or looking at TikTok or whatever it is, and we can get stuck in an algorithm and see a lot of the same stuff. And if you find yourself stuck in an algorithm that is all about why all the white people are racist and all of the bad things, and all of police brutality, this, that, and the other, and that's all you see, well, you can get stuck in a destructive pattern that is going to keep you in a place of anger and animosity, and then you're trapped.
Sergeant Grumpy Pants, how did we get here?
God, I wish I could tell you. I wish I had answers. There's just, I don't know, man. Like, there's definitely right and there's wrong. And in this day and age, it seems like the line that divisively divides those two things is being constantly blurred, shifted. And it's now, this particular one is blurring the lines of that right and wrong based on a particular skin color. And it doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't. I wish I had a better answer for you, but I don't know. It's all Greek to me.
Yeah, I got one more video I'm going to show you here, and then we'll go ahead and wrap this up. And this was a gentleman outside of the courthouse, and this is what he had to say.
I'm saying that because y'all want to play these games. Y'all want to play these crackhead games, so I'm gonna play them. Fuck white lies. How about that? How about that? I hate white people. I like pussy. I want these crackheads. Redneck pussy.
Interesting. Why are we white people pussies?
I've got a lot of other stuff queued up here that we're just not going to have time to get into today. But I mean, there's a laundry list of things out there right now where, the Metcalf family was leaving the courthouse and people were screaming at the family, telling them that they're glad their son's dead and that they wished their other son was dead along with them. And I come back to like, this needs to stop. Like,
who does that?
Who does that? Like this level of evil and race baiting and tribalism, like this needs to stop. And if we do not find a way to start coming together or calling things as they actually are when they happen, if this had been a real, race related situation where this kid was using a bunch of profane language and attacking, Carmelo Anthony and going after him with a weapon, and Carmelo Anthony generally defending himself, then we can have the argument that this is, a race-based case. There was nothing there to support.
Right. And I have a different point of view if that's the case, right?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Like you're allowed to defend yourself. Absolutely.
Yes. What you're not allowed to do is stab a kid in the heart because you may have gotten pushed or your ego got hurt because somebody was asking you to leave a place that you were not supposed to be in to begin with.
Ego. Ugh.
Yes. All right. Well, that will wrap up that topic. I'm sure there'll be more ugly, gross videos and posts that people are going to continue to put out about this case as time goes on. And if something big comes up, we'll circle back and talk about it again then. But gentlemen, this was a great episode, our final episode, as a matter of fact, on the Cigar Titans YouTube channel of Smoke Signals and Side Quests.
This is point 9.
This is point 9. Yes. Next week will officially be episode 1 on the YouTube channel, Smoke Signals and Side Quests. Like and subscribe over there for more content like this. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure hanging out with the two of you today.
As it was with you, sir.
Good deal, man. Love to be here.
Awesome. Well, to everybody out there, don't forget, like and subscribe. Check us out over on YouTube, Smoke Signals and Side Quests. I must have said that a million times this episode already. Just want to make sure that that message lands. Our live episode next week will go live exclusively on that channel. Will no longer be on the Cigar Titans channel. So check us out over there. Until then, we'll see everybody next week. Take care.
Thanks for being here.
Have a good one.